That is LightSail, and that is why we are celebrating this evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very, very special Planetary Society webcast. I'm Matt Kaplan, the host of Planetary Radio. We are coming to you from the Crawford Family Forum at the Pasadena headquarters of KPCC, Southern California Public Radio, the Planetary Society's hometown public radio station. We have got some great people for you to meet over the next 90 or so minutes. We're also just moments away from revealing how LightSail, that little spacecraft that you just saw in that animation, how it will soon make its way above Earth's atmosphere where it will set sail on the pressure of sunlight alone. Joining me now is the CEO of the Planetary Society, the guy who continues to demonstrate that science rules. Please welcome Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages. Wow, thank you all so much. Those of you watching on your electric computer machines, welcome. On that kooky interweb that the kids use. It's great to see you all. I just want to say what an exciting time this is for the Society. The Planetary Society was started in 1980 by Lou Friedman, who was an engineer at the Jet Propulsion Lab, Bruce Murray, who ran the Jet Propulsion Lab during those heydays of the Viking and Voyager missions to Mars and then to outside of the solar system, and Carl Sagan. Now, through some string of remarkable clerical errors, I had Carl Sagan for astronomy, and I was in the back of the room. I was by no means a star student, but he spoke eloquently many times about sailing with sunlight. Now, this may seem surprising. Light has no mass. Photons are massless, yet light has momentum. And so people have proposed for many years that we build spacecraft to take advantage of this. And it's this other thing. For those of you who are, for some reason, not rocket science professionals, weird, you can either light the engine for a few seconds or even minutes and coast just astonishing distances through space. But you can only get as much impulse as the engine provides while the fuel's burning. Now, thank you, Bill. But with a solar sail, the sun is shining all the time. I would say day and night, but we hope that there's not really any night where you are. And so you can reach remarkable speeds, and you can go to extraordinary destinations. This is all on paper. Now, a few solar sails have been built over the years, and spacecraft have taken advantage of what we call light pressure several times. For example, the mission to Mercury, MESSENGER, which is a fabulous tortured acronym, has gotten about 5 extra orbits by taking advantage of solar pressure. And then NASA launched NanoSail D, and for those of you who are not in the aeronautics business, traditionally in mathematics, the capital letter L is for lift and the capital letter D is for drag. And this is a spacecraft that was going to drag through the atmosphere and take spacecraft out of orbit on purpose. Now, the deployment mechanism is very much akin to the deployment. So everything's in a little box.
Well, we're going to talk all about that.
Everything's
with
in
the
a
people
little
building
box,
it,
and then it's got to come out. And
As you will see.
That's when things go wrong. Now, just to give you an idea of how far back the Society goes with this, my predecessor was Lou Friedman, who worked at JPL and then was the head of the Planetary Society for 32 years. And he wrote this book about solar sailing in 1988. I guess it was published in 1988, but he worked on this mission that was going to catch up with Comet Halley, what we used to call Halley's Comet, but they met people from the Halley family and they say Halley. And this idea goes way, way back. And so Lou especially believed that a private organization, not a government-funded administration, could build one of these things because the fuel, or among the reasons, the fuel is free. And so at last, the Planetary Society, after many years and a spectacular and charming and miserable failure, in 2005, has now prepared another set of missions to test and then fly a solar sail.
And I want to note that that failure was not the fault of Cosmos 1, our spacecraft.
No, the spacecraft was called Cosmos 1 after the show that Carl Sagan produced in 1980, before Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's on our board of directors, co-hosted it, sponsored. Neil is a dear friend of many people in this room, and it's Neil, if you're watching, I hope you are. Of course, what else would you be doing in New York at 10:08 at night? And so this is really an exciting time for us. So is it time for the big announcement?
We're going to bring one other person up here to help you do that first.
Thank you. Yes.
But yes, rather than keep people in suspense, we will do that. But we have asked the president of the Planetary Society to help Bill make this big announcement. This Arizona State University professor and researcher is one of the world's leading planetary scientists and the best-selling author of books including the beautiful postcards from Mars, Mars 3D, the Space Book, a bunch of other stuff too. I like to call him the Ansel Adams of Mars because he's sort of the chief photographer for Spirit and Opportunity and is involved with Curiosity as well. Would you?
Those are names of rovers, everybody.
It's one of the few nights we're not talking about Mars here. Please help us welcome Dr. Jim Bell. Oh, thanks, Jim.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Hey, Billy.
Jim,
Look out.
you have been in on some big events, big announcements in the past. Is this one up there? Is this pretty special?
This is awesome. This is a very, very cool thing, I can tell you. You know, just for members of the society, for people in the public who love space exploration, who follow missions. I mean, it's a mission, man.
It's a mission.
We're going to make a mission.
A mission is a noun we use to mean spaceship thing.
Yeah, yeah. So very excited.
It's very exciting because this dream goes way back. The society was formed when these guys believed that public interest in space was very high, but government support for it was maybe not so high. And we're at that same time now. And so through the support of you all, we have built these two spacecraft, and we have an announcement. Is it time to announce?
Almost. I want to ask
I
you
knew there was
along those lines.
I knew there
He's
was
so eager. He just
No,
wants
I
to
want
get
them on the edge of their seats.
All right.
No.
Why
Announce
has
what?
Why has this been such a core goal of the society for so long, being involved with solar sailing?
You know, solar sailing is part of the future of space exploration, right? It's using this fantastic, phenomenal energy source that we have that maybe we take for granted too much, right?
A fusion reactor at a safe distance.
Exactly, exactly.
The sun.
And so I think it's two things, Matt. I think one is the potential that this kind of technology has for the future of exploring our solar system and getting out to other stars. And secondly, I think it's just an amazingly cool thing that a group of like-minded people can get together, we can pool our resources, and you know, we're not the United States government, we're not Russia, we're not some big international corporation. We're just a bunch of people who love space, and we put it all together, and we're going to do this together. We're going to run our own mission. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to run our own mission. No, it's going to be cool.
It's rocket science.
And it's thanks to you all. And I just want to, I want to make this announcement.
Let's do it. Ready? Rather than simply telling you what rocket is going to boost LightSail into orbit, we decided to show you. Here it is. The Falcon 9 Heavy.
So,
Yeah.
in the spring of 2016, we presume April of 2016, we're going to get a ride, as the expression goes, on a Falcon 9 Heavy. And this will be a rocket built here in California built in the United States, that we believe is very much a future of many, many space missions to low Earth orbit and beyond. And so it's really quite a thing. The expression we use rather is we are on the launch manifest for sure. So we are very hopeful. Thanks to you all. That's the big announcement. Spring of 2016
Oh, yes.
into orbit now.
And you are among the first.
Bring it on.
You and the other people watching the webcast this evening are really the first to hear this public announcement. They've dropped the 9. It's now just the Falcon Heavy, but it will be the most powerful rocket ever built, with the exception of the mighty Saturn V that, of course, took humans to the moon. It'll be able to put something, get this, something as heavy as a fully loaded 737 airplane into orbit. Now,
There'd be some issues.
I recommend they don't do that. Yeah,
Wouldn't that
they
be?
probably
They
shouldn't do
just
that.
duct tape it to the top of the rocket. Its first stage consists actually of 3 Falcon 9 cores. That's a total of 27 Merlin rocket engines. As you saw, nearly 4 million pounds of thrust. So, you would be right in guessing that our little LightSail will not be the only payload on this flight, which is something we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about this other spacecraft that'll be working in tandem with LightSail. That's going to come up in a few minutes.
Just want to point out that this is some engineering parts assembled, and that's actual size and shape of the LightSail spacecraft, and it will deploy these shiny, shiny sails to be, if you imagine that how tall that wall is, imagine a square of that dimension. It will deploy sails that big, and it will be readily visible from the Earth's surface because this material is so crazy shiny. And we are planning, I hope you all participate, in a LightSail watch. And what I found is, as I get older, 2016 sounds like a long time, but it's not. It's here before you know it. We got to start integrating the thing into the rocket, and things have really got to happen surprisingly quickly. And so tonight we've got the whole crew here. We have many representatives of the crew here.
A lot of leaders of the team.
Yeah.
Jim, planetary scientist, you want to see more missions out there. What could a rocket like the Falcon Heavy mean for planetary exploration?
We're really excited, those of us in planetary science, about spaceships like the Falcon Heavy, because they can bring not just our tiny little payload, but big payloads on interplanetary trajectories. So NASA is going to be, using the Falcon Heavy in its stable of big rockets that could be used not just for sending people out into deep space, but for sending missions to Europa or Uranus and Neptune, Saturn system. And compared to the normal way that you have to do it with a smaller size rocket like an Atlas or a Delta.
Cute little
rockets, very nice. Or a solar electric propulsion. Those kinds of missions will get you there, but they'll take 10 years, 15 years. A rocket like the Falcon 9 Heavy or the SLS rocket that
Space
NASA's
Launch
developing, we can get us out to Jupiter in 2, 3, 4 years, depending on the alignment. So we're talking about opening up the outer solar system to much more rapid exploration than has been done before. So we're very excited about that.
Then the other aspect of solar sailing is lowers the cost of missions dramatically. So one of the ideas is one of the problems is when you put all your eggs in a single basket, like you're going to make. Recently, we just launched the Orbiting Carbon Observatory 2, the OCO2. I say we, humankind, launched this thing because we blew up OCO1. And it just takes years and literally billions of dollars to rebuild one of these things and get it organized. But when you're sending little spacecraft, and you could send a bunch of them, if one of them messes up, then you got the other ones for redundancy. And the thing about solar sailing is, if you can trade money for time. If you have time, you can send these things, hypothetically, to extraordinary distances in the solar system. And you wouldn't send one, you'd send an armada, a fleet. And then they could work together and act like a large array of, reminds me of telescope lenses or a synthetic aperture radar and other exciting stuff.
Swarm.
A swarm
Yes.
of CubeSats driven out there by solar sails. I mentioned the wall. The wall is not so good. Let's think about the back of this thing. It's bigger than the screen
The
here.
screen behind our heads that those of you who are
Those
watching.
who are watching,
on
it
the,
comes
the
out of this
screen.
little box because, and everybody will talk about this. The sail material is so crazy thin.
And just this
Yeah.
technology, this CubeSat technology is relatively new, and lots of groups around the country, including NASA, are thinking about bringing these things into bigger missions, deploying them off of these flagship spacecraft, so that
Boing, boing,
they
boing.
can go and land on
Except they're in
something.
space, they just go.
Exactly.
In space, no one can hear you deploy.
That's right.
Exactly.
No, they're
So-
these little jack-in-the-box gizmos that let them go. It's very cool.
And we have a couple of the leaders of the LightSail
Yes.
team who are going to talk to us about some more of these engineering and hopefully science details as well. Jim, I am extremely grateful, as I'm sure as everybody else watching this, that you were able to be here to help us make the big announcement.
We are so excited, man, and hopefully you're all excited too, because it's a really cool thing. Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Carry on, Doctor.
I am sure he is somebody we'll be hearing more from as we approach the launch of LightSail, Jim Bell. We want to introduce you now to the project manager for LightSail, and he's going to be joining us by Skype. So those of you here in the room, he's going to be on that screen right over there. Doug Stetson was at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for 25 years, most recently as the manager of the Solar System Mission Formulation Office, where he was responsible for development of all new planetary mission and technology strategies and programs. His superb strategic skills, planning skills, have also been invaluable on this project. And Bill, I would say that even just that little bit of a bio maybe only scratches the surface of why we're so happy to have him as our project manager.
Well, he's got the team together and gotten this thing on track, and we're going to get it flying. So can we just
Please welcome Doug
please
Stetson.
welcome Doug. Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Doug, you're in a hotel room.
Yeah, I'm in just south of Baltimore, Maryland. Wish I could be there with you all. Sounds like you're having a great time, especially you, Bill. If there's a happier science guy anywhere out there in the world, I want to meet him.
Amen.
No, it's really cool. So, Doug, I love what you've done with your hotel room there.
Yeah, well,
Nice
that's the
break.
best we could do on short notice.
No, it's great. So, tell us where we are with the program.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll be happy to do that. And I want to thank you, Bill, and thanks, Matt, for the opportunity to be here. Or actually, I wish I was there, but at least I can be with you through what Bill calls the worldwide interweb, or whatever he calls it. And thanks to everybody who's in the audience and everybody listening for your interest in LightSail in particular and space exploration and solar sails in general. As you've heard, there's a lot of excitement in the Planetary Society and elsewhere throughout the space community with about the potential of solar sails, and I think we're very lucky and honored to be able to play a role in advancing this technology. So, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to participate with you. I think now I sent out a few slides that you can show.
Yeah, Doug, we've got those.
Okay.
We can
Go ahead.
definitely get into those if you'd like.
Sure.
And I know you talk about, I love, first of all, this quote that you have on the first slide
Right.
from this guy named Galileo.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons I like that is you know, the idea of solar sailing has been around for a very long time. Now, it's probably hard to say that going all the way back to Kepler in 1610, you know, that they were really thinking about sailing. I mean, they didn't know anything about solar radiation pressure and the types of you know, dynamics in space that we do now. But I think one of the interesting things is that clearly the analogy to sailing the oceans of Earth is something that they were very familiar with, and that they were able to extend, at least in a thought-provoking way, towards looking up into the heavens. And I think that speaks to the real appeal of solar sailing, which has been sort of a dream of space explorers for a long, long time. And we're just now at the point where that can become a reality. So we don't know exactly what Kepler was thinking about way back when, but clearly, you know, they had something that they thought was a potential, and they were just smart enough and forward-thinking enough to be able to extend it to the heavens. And speaking of dreams, I think, no discussion of LightSail would be complete without really referring, as you guys did a minute ago, to the visionary who really made this come to pass, and that's Lou Friedman. Lou deserves a lot of credit for basically being one of the world's leading advocates for solar sailing for many decades. And yeah,
Let's give Lou a hand. Yeah. Can you see the book, Doug?
Yeah, I can see part of it there, Bill. Thank you. So, Lou, together with another guy named Tom Svitek, really came up with a concept for LightSail. Now, Tom Svitek runs a company called Stellar Exploration. It's located up in Mountain View. And it was Tom and his team that really transformed Lou's vision of a small, compact solar sail mission into a reality. And I think when you see the spacecraft that's sitting right next to Bill there, and we'll show you a few more pictures, a little more details about that, you can see that it's really a very innovative design. And it's the type of thing that breakthroughs are made of. And so Lou and Tom's team up at Stellar really deserve an awful lot of credit for getting us where we are today. And that's right on the cusp of being ready to launch this, this privately funded solar sail demonstration mission.
Doug, you've got another slide that I think starts to go into at least some of the biggest challenges that the team faced in making this happen.
Sure. Okay. Is that there's several challenges whenever we talk about solar sailing, especially with something as compact as a CubeSat. And Jim Bell told you a little bit about what CubeSats are. One of the big advances of LightSail is being able to provide a CubeSat with meaningful propulsive capability, the capability to travel throughout the solar system. The CubeSat is a very small, lightweight, very inexpensive spacecraft. And they've been able to do a lot of things in the last 10 years or so, but one thing that they've been lacking is enough propulsion to really take them places, and that's what LightSail can provide, and that's why we're so excited about it. But clearly, for something as small as that, a couple of the key challenges are, one is packaging, how to get that sail big enough to actually provide that propulsion, packaged down into that small volume that you see in front of you. Along with that, one needs to deploy the sail. It needs to unfurl itself and be able to, just like a sail on a sailboat, it has to be able to catch the wind, so to speak. And so the deployment mechanism and all the booms that are associated with that also have to be packed inside. That's another thing that Tom and his team up at Stellar did so well. And the third challenge that I want to talk some more about is what we call attitude control. And that's a key for any spacecraft. Now, I'm not talking about, don't worry, be happy kind of attitude. What we're talking about, although that would be nice as well, what we're talking about is the attitude of the spacecraft and controlling the orientation of the spacecraft so that you can actually point the sail where you want and be able to do useful things with it. And if
it's important to be able to rotate in space, right, to tack
exactly
the way a sailboat does, yeah?
So on the next slide, you'll see a very simple-minded example of how a solar sail works, and in fact, how LightSail will work in Earth orbit. And you can see that this is a picture that's a schematic of the Earth in the middle there with the sun off to the left, and you can see some arrows indicating solar pressure coming in from the left. And the spacecraft is represented by this little stick figure, a line with a box through it. That's our spacecraft. And as it goes around counterclockwise in orbit around Earth, you can see that we need to orient the sail, we need to control its attitude so it catches the wind, so to speak, as it's going in one direction, and then we have to turn it so that when it comes back into the wind, that it's edge on, so we don't just negate whatever energy change we got from solar pressure.
Doug, I think it's important to point out, this is not running or being driven by the solar wind. Solar wind, it's not being driven by streams of particles coming off the sun. It's being driven by light.
Yeah,
so it's words include more than they leave out. I just don't want to throw people off.
That's a good point. And so you can see, though, with what a solar sail needs to do, as with any sailboat on Earth, it's only useful if you can orient the sail in the direction that you want to catch the wind on Earth or to catch the solar radiation pressure in space. So a light sail and any solar sail has to go through this intricate dance of controlling its attitude so that it catches the solar radiation pressure when it wants to accelerate, and it feathers the sail or goes edge on so it doesn't pick up a lot of drag when it's going in the wrong direction. So you can see that with something in Earth orbit like LightSail, we'll be going through this process of orienting the sail one way through half the orbit, turning the sail so that it's oriented the other direction through the other half of the orbit, and do that over very many revolutions. And by doing that, one can increase the orbital energy. If you do it long enough, you can actually use that to escape Earth's orbit for free, no propulsion required, and then use the sail in a similar manner to go elsewhere throughout the solar system.
So Doug, where does the energy come from to make it twist in space?
Well, there's a couple different ways of doing that. Different solar sail concepts will do that differently. But for us, we have, and Barbara Plant, who's going to come up in a few minutes, is going to tell you a lot more about how we control the attitude for LightSail itself. But basically, we can use things like the Earth's magnetic field. We can use stored electrical energy on board the spacecraft. One could even use very tiny chemical thrusters if you chose to do it that way. So Barbara will give you some of the details for LightSail. One of the other key things that has really been a major factor for getting LightSail where it is today is it has to be at a high enough altitude to be outside of the atmospheric drag. As you can see, you know, if the solar sail, this big 30 square meter piece of plastic, was just in the upper atmosphere, it wouldn't last very long. It would just deorbit. So we had to get LightSail up to a high enough orbit in order to make this experiment useful. And if you flip ahead to the next slide, you can see a little bit about how we were able to do that. And I think, Bill, you referred a minute ago to sort of the partner mission for LightSail, and that's called PROX-1. Now, PROX-1, as you can see represented here, is a student project. It's a student-run mission from the Georgia Institute of Technology, Georgia Tech. A guy named Dave Spencer, who's been a friend of LightSail for many years, is the professor at Georgia Tech. He's the principal investigator for PROX-1. And what they're doing is demonstrating a number of technologies for what's called proximity operations, being able to operate one spacecraft autonomously close to another one. So they got funding to do this, and they're going to launch in 2016. Now, what they needed was a target. They needed a partner spacecraft to fly along with so that they'd have something to point their sensors at and be able to fly around it, take pictures, and demonstrate their proximity operations technology. And Dave approached the Planetary Society, said, you know what, LightSail would be perfect. We could carry LightSail up to a high enough orbit. We could deploy it for you, and then PROX-1 will use it as the target for its experiment. And when that's done, LightSail pops out its sail, gets a lot of cool pictures from PROX-1 along the way, and then we go and do our sailing experiment. So it really was a match made in heaven, you know, so to speak, and got us a free launch. There is a free launch after all.
He's been saving that, everybody. Wow.
720 kilometer orbit or something like that, high enough so that we're outside of the atmospheric drag and we can conduct a LightSail experiment. So that was really the innovation that got us where we are. Up until then, we'd just been waiting and hoping that we would find a way to get to a high enough orbit to conduct LightSail, and it's this marriage with PROX-1 that really makes that possible.
And Doug, you've got a couple of other images, I think. Maybe we can go to the next one.
Yeah, sure. There's just a couple pictures here just to give people an idea of how the mission is going to operate once it reaches orbit. So I'll step through these very quickly. What you see on this first chart here is on the left-hand side, that's PROX-1, the main spacecraft, as it's been separated from its launch vehicle. It'll go through a couple weeks period of checking itself out, making sure everything is working properly. Flip ahead to the next slide, and you can see after a few weeks, it will deploy its CubeSat target, and that is LightSail. LightSail will be carried inside of PROX-1 and will be ejected, as you see here on the left. And it still doesn't have its solar sail out yet. We're still just a CubeSat with you know, all the small small form factor of 30 centimeters by 10 centimeters. Then PROX-1 will conduct its rendezvous experiment, which means it's going to test its autonomous sensors and thrusters and be able to demonstrate that it can approach and rendezvous with LightSail in orbit. Flip ahead to the next slide, and you can see that Then Prox 1 will go through a period of time in which it's conducting the rest of its experiment, and what it will do is get close enough to LightSail, the exact distance is still to be determined, and be able to take images of LightSail, circumnavigate, that is, fly around LightSail, look at it from different angles, and fully demonstrate all of the technologies that Prox 1 is designed to demonstrate. After that, then LightSail will deploy its solar sail, as you see here on the right. Will take about a week for Prox 1 to continue inspecting LightSail after the solar sail has been deployed. And this is a very key step. This is something that makes LightSail so much better than we had originally planned, because we will actually get images, very high quality images of the solar sail as it's being deployed, after it's fully deployed, from a bunch of different angles. And that will allow us to really understand the deployment itself, make sure that that works properly, understand the behavior of this big floppy structure in space, understand a little bit more about the dynamics of a solar sail. So this really does increase the value of LightSail for future missions, because we're really going to understand much better than would have been possible otherwise, how a solar sail really behaves in space. And we're very excited about that. And just the last page that I have there, there's a few of the key program milestones, and you've already heard the big announcement about when the launch date is. We'll actually be ready to launch. The spacecraft is fairly far along. We could be ready well before that. This is the current schedule that we're working towards now. The real thing that I wanted to point out is the second line on this schedule chart, which is a test flight in May of 2015, just in May of next year, less than a year from now. Now, that's an opportunity that has recently come up, and we've been working very hard to take advantage of this, to actually fly our spare LightSail spacecraft into a lower orbit, not an orbit that would be high enough to actually do solar sailing, but it would be an excellent validation of the design. We would be able to get the spacecraft up into space, unfurl the solar sail, understand that the deployment mechanism works, do some testing of the software, really a good kind of a dry run for the big mission a year later. And so this is an opportunity that we're working very hard towards. We're pretty sure that we're going to be able to be ready for that. You'll be hearing much more about that over these next couple months. So if all of that comes to pass, then we'll really have an outstanding program for demonstrating a CubeSat solar sail with 2 flights, one in May of 2015, the second one in early 2016, and between the two of those, we really think that we'll be able to open the door to a huge number of low-cost solar system exploration missions using solar sails. And NASA and other institutions are just very excited about it, and of course we are as well.
So the thing is, Doug, the thing is that even though you're in space in, let's say, May of 2015, there's still enough molecules, there's still enough atmosphere to drag you down, right? You got to get up pretty high.
The plan now is, like I said, getting to a high enough orbit is a challenge, and getting there for free is an even bigger challenge. So we got the opportunity for Prox 1 to take us to a high orbit for the main mission. We have an opportunity for a free launch to a lower orbit for the test flight, but the time between those two is just about perfect for us to be able to demonstrate the full functionality of the spacecraft and the sail deployment, and get enough data from that we'll really be able to have confidence in the full flight a year later.
Not that anything would go wrong. I mean, that would, no. I mean,
Doug,
just hypothetically.
we've got another key member of the LightSail team that we want to bring up. You were just telling me a few days ago why adding Barbara Plant to this team has been, so very important, maybe vital to the success of LightSail.
Yeah, Barbara, along with a few other folks, Alex Diaz and Ricky Munakata, they're in Pasadena, Rex Ridenauer. We brought in a team to really complete the spacecraft and especially the software. And among them, Barbara especially has been working very, very hard to complete the CubeSat LightSail software and the attitude control process, and that's something that we couldn't have done it without her. I also want to point out Alex Diaz, who was one of the original designers of LightSail, but he came back to the program to help us through the testing phase and has been absolutely indispensable. And really, Bill, you have had a lot of very dedicated and very smart people who have put in a tremendous amount of time to get LightSail where it is, and we're all very grateful for their support.
Let me tell you a little bit more about Barbara Plant. She is the founder and president of Boreal Space. The company develops and integrates complex space missions, like the one we're talking about this evening. Before starting her own firm, she was with Lockheed Martin and probably a lot of other companies that you may have heard of. Barbara played key roles in, I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce it correctly, the Iconos and the Iris missions, very successful missions. She is working on a CubeSat of her own called Wayfinder. And when she's not practicing rocket science, you might find her on the ice. She plays and coaches ice hockey with the Northern California Women's Hockey League. So please help us welcome to the stage Barbara Plant. No, it's okay. You can come on over, Barbara. It's Johnny Carson style, you know. I guess you have to move down. I was going to let the boss stay there, but what do you got? You got a prop for us?
Yeah, I have part of the solar sail right here, and I was advocating to the team here that we should be passing this along to everybody in the audience, just so you can get the feel of it.
How crazy thin it is.
It's crazy thin, and gosh, I've seen it unfurled now, and it's like 32 square meters. It's huge, and the spacecraft is just so teeny. It's just.
Can I ask you? Come on up here, and we'll hand this to you, and you can start passing it around. Please don't eat it. Don't tear off any pieces. But we'll see if we can get it around to everybody. If you miss the chance later, we'll give you a chance to feel
Barbara,
that material.
Is it 4.5 microns?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Doug, does that sound right?
Very, very thin.
Yeah, very thin.
So 4.5 microns for typical people, it's about a 50th of the thickness of human hair.
Barbara, the first thing we've got for you, there is this little video which sort of explodes LightSail, and I want to ask you to sort of narrate it if you would.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and roll that little video. And you can talk right over it.
Okay, great. All right. So it looks like there's the DVD. What is it? Or
I think it's a DVD.
DVD.
We'll
Put
talk about
your
that.
name on a DVD and
Planetary
send it into
Society
space.
members.
We do that.
Flipping it around to see the different views. There are the solar panels coming together and then attached.
So the solar panels charge up a battery system when it's in daylight, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a deployment of the solar panels.
So another strange thing.
Close up of the camera.
Right?
The cameras are going to look closely at and take some photos when the sails are deployed.
But there's solar panels on both sides because sunlight comes in from one direction and it bounces off the sails the other direction.
There goes the sail unfurling, and I think that's to scale, and it's just an amazingly small spacecraft to contain a 32 square meter sail.
Doug talked about 3 major challenges a few minutes ago. He began with one that I really hadn't considered before this, which is getting those humongous, albeit thin sails into an itty-bitty space on the spacecraft. Talk about origami.
The folks at Stellar...
And we have some slides, I know, of yours that we can help use to help illustrate this, by the way.
I think I'll see them there. Okay. Challenges of solar sailing. Okay, so... you see the sail is deployed on the deployment table over there at Stellar Exploration. That table was specifically built to contain the sail because it just, like under the gravitational influence, it would just bend and warp, and the booms would twist and undergo undue stresses. So the team over at Stellar did an amazing job and invented the table that contains the sail when it's deployed. And you can see the clean room in the back.
So should we go on?
Sure.
Yeah, let's take a look
the
at
clean
next
room
one.
is where it's folded up, huh? In the background, yeah.
So the solar sail material being passed around, but the team has to fold and refold and fold until on one side of the chart there you can see somebody's hand, and the the sail is just like a triangle. And can I move this?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, because I would like to show where it fits on the spacecraft.
Oh, sure, go ahead. You want to stand
so,
up?
careful,
You'll have
this
to speak
is a
loudly.
precision land-based piece of thread holding these up. Normally, in inertial space, that just needs the tiniest bit of spring to hold them up. But here, in all this gravity, we have little threads.
So the sail is in...
Could you, Barbara, pull that microphone right over to you? They'll be able to hear you better. There you go.
All right. The sail is in quarters, and that triangular piece is going to be fitting right inside here, 4 sides. And that's, here's my hand, so that's it. That's you know, a good part of a quarter of the sail is fitting on each of the sides. It's an amazing bit of engineering. And when I think of this sailing, this is an elegant spacecraft. It's beautiful. Unlike other spacecraft that I've worked on, it's very mechanical and it's, you know,
Clunky.
It's clunky, but this is elegant, and one can imagine this goes to science fiction. Now the sail is going to take us places, and with a completely green method of sailing. It's a beautiful thing.
You've got an image a couple of slides in, I think, that actually shows us, the next one after this, that shows us that how it's packed in there.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
Oh, and by the way, pay no attention to that man who just appeared on the right side of the screen, those of you who are here in the audience. You'll meet him in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Barbara? Yeah, you can stay over there. That's okay, for now.
So while I'm here, I'll just point out, of course, here are the solar panels, but the deployer mechanism here, I was trying to explain to a friend, well, what is that like? When you hear it, when you hear the motor deploying the booms out of here, it sounds kind of like a tape measure is being pulled out of the container.
Thing.
Yeah. And the end of the tape measure kind of grabs onto the end of the sail and drags it out.
So the tape measures, they're called tape measure booms. Are they still, Doug?
No, Bill, I actually hadn't heard that term, but you know.
I invented that term.
No, so I went to Kirtland Air Force Base where these things are made. They're high cobalt steel, and they call it stitch welding. There's little a laser that goes and zaps 2 of them together, and they fold up into the extraordinary small space. And they're so stiff, it's just weird. Imagine 2 tape measures in cross-section, you know, they're a little bit curved, a tape measure steel, so imagine 2 of them edge to edge, and they form a sort of triangle-looking thing, and they just roll up so flat. And how long is each boom? 4.5 meters or something like
That's
that?
right.
Yeah. So
And once we do a test deployment with the sail, the crew from Stellar comes out and refolds, and
how long does it take?
it's probably about 30 minutes. Like a couple of guys are on a quarter, and that's 30 minutes. And you know, the more people we have folding, the better.
Like house cleaning.
Like house cleaning, it's always better when more people are involved.
That's actually less time than I would have thought it would take.
I thought it took a long time.
Well,
a half hour? Did you wear happy gloves? So
yeah. And what's really fun for the audience is that they can just pass it around, and they don't have the protective gloves on, and you know, all of the busy stuff that we have.
Your next slide, we've seen animations so far of the slide deploying, but here's the real thing on that table?
Here it is step by step on the table. There's the CubeSat in the middle, and step by step, there it goes out onto the deployment table.
Doug said that you would tell us a little bit more about what Bill asked about, attitude control.
Sure.
Please do.
I think there's the next chart might have something about that. Yeah, so on the LightSail, we use a rather simple attitude control. We're using the Earth's magnetic field, the intensity of the Earth's magnetic field, and we have magnetometers on board LightSail. And also, the software has like a table of what we call the truth model, the actual measurements from spacecraft and balloons and planes and whatnot of the Earth's magnetic field. When we use the magnetometers on board, we kind of difference the truth model against what the magnetometers are reading, and we can kind of determine how,
it's your own inside-out global positioning, or
That's right,
other
kind
way,
of,
the
yeah.
other way around. Yeah.
That would make a good acronym.
Are the there is an acronym?
I said it would make a good acronym.
We'll work on. We'll make it
We'll
a
work on
contest.
that.
for members.
Contest, yes, that's brilliant.
Name that
but,
procedure.
When you say magnetometer, what is a magnetometer? It's a Hall effect sensor or something? It's a solid state magnet sensor
Yes,
thing,
I'm
deal?
not sure we can see it on here, but it's, it's determined, it can determine the intensity of the field, and also the inclination, so we can tell like the dip angles of the magnetic field. When we determine that information and we have differences on that, then we activate torque rods on the spacecraft.
Torque rods, yeah.
Torque rods.
What are, Barbara, my esteemed colleague, go ahead. What's that?
Well,
thing?
it's an electromagnetic device that will.
So it's different than the crank on the Jack-in-the-Box, which provides
yeah.
torque, right? This is a
Well,
little different.
It's a little more expensive too.
Yeah. So it pushes against the Earth's magnetic field.
Well, and it will orient the spacecraft for us and give us a nice, as we're flying along, one of the axes, we call it the z-axis of the spacecraft, we're moving along, and when we want to go for a ground station contact, we'll orient down, and when we fly over Cal Poly or Georgia Tech that are serving as our ground stations, our antenna is oriented well enough, precise enough to make the ground contacts. We get commands from the ground. We send data over a beacon down to
Boop, 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 boop.
10 seconds. Boop, boop. I don't know if it makes that sound. I haven't.
Well, it's in outer space. It just goes. So, what is the antenna? Is it here? Do I see it?
I don't think you see it on here, no.
Do we take advantage of that giant sheet of?
Hey, maybe, Doug, where is the antenna?
The antenna
He's
comes
going
out
to
of the.
slap his forehead. Ah!
Oh, did we forget
You
the
were
antenna? No.
No, it comes out. It deploys from the bottom of the spacecraft. I don't think you can see it on that model, but it's there.
Well, and because the solar panels are here, we'd get interference on the antenna, so without knowing, you would kind of guess that it's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Be
is
the
this?
right place.
This next slide you've got is sort of like a workbench. What's going on here?
That's BenchSat.
Bench sat.
Bench your bench set.
BenchSat. Those are the components of the spacecraft, just laid out on acrylic and fastened so that all the elements of the components are all exposed to our equipment, our oscilloscopes and logic analyzers and whatnot. We can get right to all of the components, make measurements, and
How many lines of code for
Great
attitude
question.
control?
for attitude control, it's probably around 10,000 lines.
10,000. So if any one of them's wrong, well, that's it.
We always watch out for that divide by zero problem. That's good. That'll get you every time.
You told me you love this next shot, and I gotta
I
say, it
do.
is pretty cool.
I do.
You described this as the HAL 9000.
Yeah,
view.
this is Alex Diaz and me. We were actually
I'm
working on
sorry,
the camera testing, and I said, Alex, why don't you just pop a couple of pictures?
Yeah,
Let's see if it's working. And so he's over there.
I
Click.
could see
click.
your lips move. Yeah.
This one we're trying to look a little bit more nonchalant, but.
Is it working?
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's working.
And
It's cool.
it definitely,
Everything's cool.
it kind of it imparts that the machine is watching you as you're coding.
So it has a little fisheye to it.
Well, right. This is one of the cameras that will watch the sail deploy, and we have taken multiple images. Like once the software starts deploying the sail, then the camera just click, 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 click. It's automatic. We don't have to command it from the ground or anything like that. That's embedded in the software now.
So, no,
Go ahead.
so let's say the sail deploys. 'Cause this is a big issue, you guys, in deploying these things. When things get in space, there's nobody up there that can jiggle it and shake it loose and stuff. There have been a lot of problems over the years with various spacecraft trying to get these things to come out. How long, let's say it works, how long before
It
the
will work.
images are beamed down to the Earth? Is it like, do they get stored on there, or will everybody
Well-
be able to watch on the web?
Well,
Everyone be able to watch on the web in real time?
That has been a very active topic of conversation. How quickly...
Well, I'd like to talk to the software engineer. Wait. Yeah. Go ahead.
We were talking about it, and we said, we need to get some thumbnail images down to the ground as soon as possible. Once the sail deploys and we have them all in the camera memory, we better pull them out really quick, get them down to the ground, let the team down at the ground station look them over, and let's get the best photo out as soon as possible. We have like a limited bandwidth, and then we're needing to contact the ground station, so it's going to take a little bit of time to get a high-resolution photo down. So we want them to pick one that looks great. Let's get it down there, and then we'll go to the next.
How long
group.
is an orbit? 90 minutes?
90 minutes, yeah. But we're at an inclination, like a 55 or 60 degree inclination, where we're contacting Cal Poly as our that's Cal Poly and San Luis Obispo every 90 minutes.
You've got one more slide, just so
it talks about the mission a little bit.
Right, the mission phases here.
So once we are ejected from the P-pod deployer, the first thing that happens is that the flight processor gets turned on. The spacecraft components like the magnetometer, the sun sensors, torque rods, and all of that come on, and then we'll fire off the antenna deployment. We'll start the beacon going every 10 seconds. And the attitudes control, if there's any tumbling of the spacecraft, we're going to try to take the tumble out. Because if you fly over a ground station and you're tumbling too fast, trying to get a command into the spacecraft is really tough. We might miss that. So we're going to detumble. That's the initial attitude control that takes over, and we get it to a slow tumble.
So there's a verb to detumble.
That's right.
That's a great verb.
That's right. And here's another great word: tip-off. The tip-off rate is once you get shot out of a P-pod, tip-off rate is how fast you are tumbling. That's a tip-off. And then detumble takes care of the tip-off rate.
Tip-off like we start a basketball game.
Yeah.
Because the P-pod's an acronym for and the D is deployer, right? And so there's like this very soft spring, and it pushes it out. To me, it's very much reminiscent of a jack-in-the-box. Like sprung, it is.
Yeah, it is.
And when you're in outer space, it just gently pushes it away from the spacecraft. But I guess there's friction, so one side hangs up a little bit, and you get a tip-off.
It's not,
rate.
it's not a perfect ejection, but.
Take us through the rest of these, just because
Sure.
we're running slightly late,
Sure.
and we got a lot more to get in here.
So once we've detumbled, we'll have Cal Poly send us what's called a two-line element set. They tell us what our orbit is. So that once we get that from them, we start propagating the orbit, and we know where we are as we fly over the Earth, and that helps us to figure out with the magnetometers what our orientation is.
And I don't know if we've said, this is California Polytechnic State University at
San Luis Obispo.
And which has been an integral part of developing LightSail.
Well, and they've been, over the years, a very pioneering group with CubeSats.
Yeah.
A lot of universities build these CubeSats and get rides, but we're going to be able to have propulsion.
So we'll get the beacon every 10 seconds from the, it is emitted every 10 seconds. So if there are ham radio operators out there, they can tune into 437 megahertz and listen in.
It's my favorite channel.
Are there any ham operators here? There must be.
There must, really?
Oh, here you go, yeah. Got one.
One.
Yeah. 437 meg.
We'll do some
Small
test
moves.
images from the cameras, and once we do the deployment, and before we do the deployment, we'll take some test images, and then we'll downlink the images and take a look at how the camera's performing, and then it's time to do the deployment. We turn on some gyros because the folks, especially over at Georgia Tech, are very interested in the rates of the spacecraft. Deploy the sails, do the imaging, and turn the gyros off. Get the successful mission data down to the ground, and
Why do you turn the gyros off?
well, Because they consume some power, and we're just trying to be stingy with it, and especially as we come up to the point where we're going to deploy the sail, part of what we did over the last couple of months was to kind of re-architect things a little bit on the spacecraft and really give the sail and the motor and the whole deployment activity the best possible chance of success. So we put an additional board into the spacecraft. We isolated that functionality so that it would have the best possible chance of success.
What's meant by backup sail deployment?
Well, that would be if for some reason we saw that something was stuck, we'd be able to send commands and reissue commands to keep the sail moving out.
Jiggle it.
Back it up if we have to, and push it forward.
Really? You can pull it back in a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it back up and go out. And
I didn't know it had
the
a reverse
booms,
steer.
not the sail.
Yeah,
When we test, we're only using the booms.
We're going to keep things moving along because there is much more for us to talk about. And we are coming to that portion of the show when we will take questions from people here with us in the Crawford Family Forum at KPCC, Southern California Public Radio, our host this evening. But we also want to mention that those of you watching us online, watching the stream, we have our brand new digital media manager keeping an eye on hashtag LightSail. And if you have a question, I think she's begun taking those already. They're going to bring some of those up here to me, and we'll try and get as much time in what's left of the program to bring those questions, your questions, into the program. Let me get one more person involved up here with this terrific panel. Fans of science fiction should be very familiar with our next guest. I was thrilled and fascinated by his most recent novel called Existence. It is terrific. I think that book is probably going to come up in the conversation over the next few minutes. Startide Rising and the Uplift War won Hugos. That's probably the most prestigious award in the world of science fiction. But David Brin is also a futurist and a scientist. The model of comets that he developed during his PhD research is still the standard. And back in 1990, he worked with Arthur C. Clarke to create a collection called Project Solar Sail. And it featured fiction and nonfiction from people like Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, and a host of other fans of sails in space. And he has joined us on Skype right up there next to Doug Stetson, the LightSail project manager. Please welcome David Brin. Hi, David.
Hi, Matt, and Bill, and Barbara, and Doug. I'm honored to be on stage by interweb.
The interweb, the pipes, the tubes.
With such accomplished people. My job nowadays is just to be interesting. You guys have to be right.
David, I don't want to give anything key to your book Existence away, but can you talk a little bit about how the aliens managed to get all over the galaxy in the book? I mean, it involves a little bit of what we're talking about, doesn't it?
Yes, well, at the hard SF end of science fiction, a number of authors have been moving away from these space operas of warp drive and all that because we've gotten a little bit tired of the trying to finesse what's already a very interesting universe. What if there is no warp drive? We still hold out hopes, and it could happen, maybe, but how would the galaxy become civilized? And this talks about the far implications of the work that you folks are doing, and that is, might it be a solution to the worst problem we have in getting to the stars? There are two problems. One is it takes so darn long, and the other is the rocket equation. And the rocket equation means you have to take the fuel to take the fuel, to take the fuel, to take the fuel, to take the fuel to get there, and likely you're probably having to take the fuel along to get back. Now, getting to Mars, we're trying to solve that by making the fuel for the return voyage in situ on Mars, or even better, on Phobos. But what if you didn't have to take fuel at all? And that's what Bill was talking about earlier by talking about how solar sails make things so much less expensive because you get to jettison the old rocket equation. Now, when you're talking about going farther out, well, you leave the sun behind, and therefore the solar sails become less powerful. Unless you provide an artificial sun. And that's exactly what we'll do, because if we get out into space and build a space industry out there that uses solar power, say at the orbit of Venus or even our own distance, we would then have unlimited supply of energy that we could pour into a laser. And this laser can then shine upon a light sail. And notice it's not called a solar sail anymore. And you could, in theory, propel this thing with a coherent, tight laser beam all the way to Alpha Centauri. Now your problem then is, how do you slow down? And that's one of the things I talk about in my novel, and the late Robert Forward showed some clever techniques that you could use. And in some science fiction, modern science fiction, this is how sapient beings get from star to star. They manage to destroy the rocket equation by beaming the power from where they're coming from, and then finding clever ways to slow down when they get there.
Bill, do you ever consider, and Barbara and Doug, you as well, these far-flung, way out there possible uses of the same technology that is hopefully going to be pioneered by LightSail?
I do. Yeah. No, but I just think about Doug's quote there at the beginning. It was Galileo, right? And
Well,
so,
Kepler, but he was buddies with Galileo, apparently.
Right.
But one thing I think is really interesting with what David is mentioning, and one of the things that I think originally attracted people like Lou Friedman to solar sailing is the potential for fast interstellar travel, and that the fact that you can envision a solar sail spacecraft that you can launch from Earth, take it out towards Jupiter, fly by Jupiter to get yourself on a trajectory that comes in very close to the sun. And when you're very close to the sun, you're going very fast. If you have a big solar sail, but you can pop out and really capture a lot of that solar radiation pressure while you're very close, you can really accelerate very, very fast and to solar system escape velocities much more efficiently than you could ever do using the rocket equation and chemical propulsion. So yeah, we've been, NASA and others have been speculating and thinking and basically dreaming about that possibility for quite a while. And the key is you got to take that baby step and get a workable solar sail and learn about the technology.
So this would be getting at 100 kilometers a second kind of speeds?
I don't know the numbers. I think it depends on the size of the sail and where you want to go, but there's basically unlimited potential in solar radiation pressure. If you can harness it with a big enough sail and keep the mass of the spacecraft low enough, you can do an awful lot and get a lot of acceleration basically for free.
And you need materials that can take it, right?
Well, one of the things that Doug is talking about an intermediate step, because we won't have the space industry and the huge lasers in the near term. But the mission that Doug was talking about, swinging past Jupiter and then unfurling a sail past the sun, this we could start in motion next week. This we could launch within 10 years. And since you could do them so cheap, as Bill points out, we could then send armadas of hundreds of these using the CubeSat technology that is handled by Cal Poly SLO, and send them out to the nearest beyond Pluto destination of great value. And that's 550 astronomical units from the sun is the point where the sun's mass creates a gravitational lens. And this is an extremely exciting possibility. In existence, I portray us sending out 10 million in every direction to look past the sun in all directions. But, baby steps. We could using this method, and that's the first interstellar destination that we could go to even without these laser beams.
These practical considerations, beyond those, the fact that this may be the only existing technology that could get us to these interstellar distances. David, there's just something about the romance of a sail in space, isn't there?
There is.
Well, absolutely. I was 12 years old when I got a copy of Boy's Life magazine. I was a Boy Scout in the 1960s. And Bill knows exactly what issue I'm talking about. It's the issue that showed on the cover a guy in a spacesuit inside a little tiny capsule, and he was pulling on shrouds, on cables that were stretched out ahead of him. And in the background, you saw 5 or 6 different designs for solar sails. And it was Sunjammer by Arthur C. Clarke. And it was about a solar sail regatta past the moon. And in 1990, Rob Staley, who might be in the audience out there.
He is indeed. We're going to say hi to him in a minute or two.
He and the World Space Foundation were working with the Planetary Society to try to get enough oomph around the world to get the governments of the world to get behind the notion of a regatta that would be exactly the same, except not manned, but it would be a robotic solar sail regatta to go past the moon, just like in Sunjammer, but to celebrate the 500th anniversary of Columbus's voyage. And I still think it's a great idea, and I still think we could do it in honor of, well, I guess Cortez wouldn't be a good choice.
No, not politically correct anymore. Barbara, you were, pull that microphone right over to you. You were nodding vehemently when we talked about the romance of all this. You want to comment?
As I said before, the spacecraft is just, it's beautiful, it's very elegant, and it doesn't take much imagination when we're at work and we talk about the spacecraft, that one can see it. One can see it in space. One can see it rendezvousing with Jupiter. It's bringing science fiction right home to us. I mean, we're kind of living it now. To be working on this program, and gosh, thanks to everybody at the society. It's taking a leap from the clunky spacecraft that we talked about before to the beautiful and the elegant and the romance of science fiction. We're taking it there now.
Well, for me, these things just take a long time. And I hope everybody remembers this. We announced this thing in the spring of 2016. We're going to fly this deal. And it's going to be the first step in a century or more. Who knows what will be possible? You know, we are all, somebody in this room is working on laser communication of spacecraft in deep space or around Mars. So light waves can carry a tremendous information density. And it'll be having a laser that's beamed purposefully at a spacecraft is right now an extraordinary thing, but maybe in a few decades it'll be a day at the office. And LightSail will be part of that.
Well, and I'm hearing that when the sail is deployed on orbit, that we'll be able to see it from the Earth.
From the ground. Oh, yeah.
And that'll be a very emotional day for me.
We are rapidly running out of time here, and so I'm going to ask the 4 of you to stay with us for the moment as we turn to the audience. And the first person that I'd like to talk to out there, if we get the house lights up, is the fellow we'd mentioned just a couple of moments ago, that David Brin mentioned, Rob Staley. Where are you now? There he is. Can we get the microphone over there? Behind you, Rob. So, Rob, tell us what you're up to over at JPL.
So I'm with the Jet Propulsion Lab, and we are thrilled to hear what's going on. And of course, we've been involved a very little bit with the LightSail. In fact, Tomas Vitek, Lou Friedman, Jordi Puig-Suari up at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo were co-investigators with me developing the concept of interplanetary CubeSats. So all the CubeSats so far have launched into low Earth orbit. It's kind of a cruel universe out there when you get outside the magnetosphere. You don't have something to torque on for attitude control. You have high energy radiation. The thermal environment is a little bit more difficult, and of course you're a lot farther away. So just last week, we finished building the first 2 Beyond Earth CubeSats under the name Inspire, and they'll be launching probably also in 2016. But going a step beyond that, I love this, talking about mission to the solar foci and interstellar, but you got to walk before you run. So we're working on 2 solar sail propelled CubeSat missions called Near Earth Asteroid Scout, which Marshall Space Flight Center is leading and JPL is a partner. And then Lunar Flashlight, kind of my favorite, where JPL is leading, and then Marshall Space Flight Center and Morehead State University are partners. And this last mission, this Lunar Flashlight, will have a sail about 3 times the size of LightSail. It'll fit in a so-called 6U CubeSat, and twice as large as the one that you see up there. And it's to go on the December 2017 launch of the Space Launch System, which was mentioned earlier.
Big rocket, the big NASA
big rocket that NASA's developing right now. And it's going to go to the moon, but it's not going to go into the same orbit that the Orion multi-purpose crew vehicle is going into. It will use its sail to get into a very purposeful science orbit going over the south pole of the moon, and will use the sail, first of all, for propulsion to get into and then maintain that orbit, but also during about 5 minutes of each pass over the moon's south pole, that sail will reflect sunlight from the sun down into the permanently shadowed polar craters.
Ooh.
And a spectrometer will measure the reflected radiation coming back from the surface to tell us which craters there's ice in, and which kind of, is it water ice, is it methane ice, is it CO2 ice, is it ammonia ice? And it will map the South Polar region in that fashion, satisfying a major objective of the Human Exploration Program to determine where there may be operationally useful quantities of water on the moon, all leaving the rocket equation behind.
Space is so cool. Are you... So are you guys, with this work, are you benefiting from what has been done with LightSail?
Definitely. So Tomas Vitek, who was mentioned earlier as lead designer of the sail deployment mechanism and the spacecraft early on, so he was one of my co-Is. He was one of the people who co-authored the white paper that went into NASA that resulted in the Near-Earth Asteroid Scout and the Lunar Flashlight mission being selected.
Thank you very much, Rob. We got to get you on Planetary Radio someday soon to talk a little bit more about this. Let's stay out here in the audience at the Crawford Family Forum. Raise your hands if you have a question for us. Remember, please keep it very short, very succinct. And for those of you watching the stream, it's hashtag LightSail. Whether you're on Twitter or anywhere else, we should be hearing from you that way. In fact, I'm being handed some questions right now. And do we have somebody ready to go out in the audience there? Haley is going to come up and grab somebody right up here in the front row. Hi, sir. What is your name?
Hi, I'm Jay Preston, and it sounds like LightSail is limited to Earth orbit. How high will it go?
Who wants to take that? Doug?
Yeah, well, the plan right now for LightSail is our target orbit altitude is about 720 to 750 kilometers. So it's what we call a medium Earth orbit. It's high enough to allow us to be outside of the atmosphere so we can do the LightSail experiment. And so that's high enough for us to do the demonstration that is the objective of LightSail. That is the pathfinder then for the future missions, the type of things that Rob Staley was just talking about.
The whole thing is the free launch. That's really essential to the Planetary Society. No, it is. I mean, we got quotes of millions of dollars, and it's just beyond the scope of right now of the society. But this really is, it's part of people who work together to advance space exploration. That's our mission.
If I could interject there,
David.
One small thing, and that is that what's come out in these discussions is that it's difficult to get from low Earth orbit, which is becoming more easy to get to because of Elon and SpaceX and some of the new efforts that are being done. But MEO, middle Earth orbit, is where you have to get your free ride for solar sails. You have to get up there. It turns out that there is a cheap rocket equation busting method to get from LEO to MEO, and that is electrodynamic tethers. And we don't have time to go into that in any detail here, but people can look it up. You can send up a mission that, as long as it's got some solar power, can deploy an electromagnetic tether, use that without rocket equation, and without fuel, without propellant, to then torque against the Earth's magnetic field, get up to MEO, and then it could deploy a sail. Now it's essentially using a sea anchor to drag you away from shore, where you can then unfurl your sails of your sailing ship.
Very cool. Got a question, a couple of questions actually from Arthur Street that came in from Facebook. One of them I can answer right off the bat. He says, how big are the CubeSats in comparison to the model up here? That is
That's it.
LightSail.
No,
So
that's the engineering spare part
This
screwed
is-
together. That's full size.
So here's another question, though. How sturdy is LightSail? How likely is it to survive all the debris floating around in space? And I guess the big question there would be the sail itself. Think about micrometeoroids and things like that as well. Are these going to be able to stand up to the rigors of space? Barbara?
Where's the? Do we have the sample
The
of the
sail
material?
is out there.
No, it's out there floating around someplace.
When you look at it
In the back
closely, molded into it is a ripstop feature. Can you see the striations? They look like strings molded in it, and that's for this purpose. You know, micrometeorites are of great concern. The International Space Station, which is up for years and years and years. But very seldom does a spacecraft get hit with one. But you raise a very good and logical question. So it is this ripstop material.
Do we have another question out here at the Crawford Family Forum? I'll let our folks pick somebody. Hi, miss, what's your name?
Is it on? Okay. Hi, my name is Claire. And kind of an add-on to the last question, this material, I was just curious about what it's actually composed of, how it's made. Is it sort of an existing material that was adapted to be used for the solar sails, or is it something that was
Sail is
specifically designed?
Mylar.
Just
It's mylar, and they call it a clay polymer because it has an alkaline chain somehow attached to a. Doug, do you guys know, is it a polyimide?
Yeah, I don't know the chemical details, but Mylar is the material. Now, there are other materials that can be used for solar sails. Kapton is one.
Oh, that's polyimide, yeah.
There are a number of others, but we use Mylar. It's easier to work with, and it's sturdy enough, as you've been alluding to let us do the mission that we want. More advanced sails would use even thinner materials, such as Kapton.
Yeah, this stuff's way thick. It's 4.5 microns. This is, we're just, we just had it around, put it in there. No, it's really amazingly thin stuff.
Here's a great question that came in from Twitter from @lock666, wondering how visible will the test flight be from Earth? He or she is actually asking about the 2015 flight. Let's just answer this for the 2016 flight of what we call LightSail B. Can you say, just how easy will it be to see from down here on Earth?
Hard to say. I think it depends on, time of day. There probably would be like more contrast in the evening. I think all of us have seen satellites going overhead in the early evening twilight when the sun is reflecting light off of them, but it's against a dark background.
International Space Station is a great example.
Sure, same
yeah.
thing, or Hubble going overhead. So I would think that would be a pretty awesome time to to see
many
it.
spacecraft are quite a bit smaller than the sail, and we can
right.
see those readily. So I think this thing is really going to
So
shine.
twilight watching would be advised, I think.
Yeah.
Let's go back out here for one more question from the audience. Hi, what is your name?
My name's Marianne. I had a question about the LightSail again. How costly was it to make? And is it possibly, more importantly, is it replicable in the future? Will we be able to see light sails everywhere? How soon do you think it could be used in multiple?
So, getting this thing working with some issues that we had over the years, it's cost about $4 million. And in the next year, we hope you all who care about us so deeply, we can get another $500,000, another $500,000, and that will make these 2 spacecraft from scratch. And Doug, I'm sure you can comment on that. Once they're working, replicating them will be, I believe, as an engineer, extraordinarily cheap. If I threw out a number, it would end my career, but it would be much, much, much cheaper, because the big hassle, Barbara, yes, is the software, right? Just getting this thing figured out has been just
Well, there's
a tooth
so
pull.
many elements to bringing a mission together, so many details. The interface even between the the LightSail and the ground station. We're actively testing that right now. One has to think through all of the eventualities. What could happen? What should we send to the ground so the ground station can see the health of the spacecraft? You have to invent it not from scratch, because people have experience with doing it. But every mission is unique, and this one is especially unique. For a point, we'll want to see how the motor's behaving, so we'll send that information down. It's a bit of orchestration of
So
procedures and stuff.
you guys, just to talk some more about me. One of the reasons I quit my day job many years ago was these guys had it in their head that if something almost works, well, that's, then we're done. No, man, if you have a couple lines of code that don't work, and you can't find them, it is a disaster. So I strongly believe, to your question, once we get these two things working perfectly, as is your plan,
Absolutely.
the cost of these things will plummet, and we'll change the world.
Doug, did you want to get in on this? And then we have one more question that I'll take that came from Twitter before we're out of time for this segment. But Doug?
I think the last comment, and it really speaks to the true value of LightSail, is the fact that we're using a CubeSat platform. And CubeSats are very inexpensive spacecraft. You can buy them, you can order them on the internet as a kit and have your own spacecraft. So I don't think the day is that far off when, with something like LightSail technology, that we will be able to replicate this very cheaply. CubeSats themselves are wonderfully cheap and standardized spacecraft that are widely available.
And hopefully getting up there as well is going to continue to get cheaper and cheaper with all of the companies that are working on this. Virgin Galactic.
Well, just let me add, CubeSats in general are very common, but CubeSats that deploy giant solar sails are not. So
Here's a great
true.
question to finish this piece of our discussion. It comes from Twitter, from someone who says, sorry if this is a silly question. It is not a silly question, but what happens to LightSail when the mission is completed?
Very good.
What happens? Doug?
Well, for the test flight at the low orbit, it will re-enter the atmosphere after a week or so because of the atmospheric drag. So it'll burn up, as most spacecraft do. They're in low orbits. They all re-enter eventually.
Bill sat already.
The higher orbit, the main mission in 2016, will be at a high enough orbit that it will stay up for quite some number of years. I don't know the exact number. Eventually, it too will, it depends on what we do with it. If we use the solar sail and are able to increase the orbital energy, it could stay up virtually indefinitely. But we don't know yet exactly, but it will be up there for quite some number of years.
How cool is that? Come on. Years? Visible from the Earth? Come on.
Look, David, we missed the first part of what you said there, David. Go ahead. I want you to get in the last word.
Oh, well, I just have a question about whether or not you guys, and you'll probably not answer, but whether or not you have a secret backup plan to send this thing out to Mars and just go,
No comment.
No comment.
How did you hear about that?
Just always be thinking about the near future, the intermediate future, and the far future. They're equally important, but as Bill said, we have to pragmatically and practically make sure the near future comes true.
David, I know you got to leave us. Thank you so much for bringing an important element to this discussion, and we'll talk again. David Brin, everyone. There is just one more person that we want to bring up on stage for a couple of minutes before we get to Planetary Radio's regular What's Up segment and the Space Trivia Contest. Jason Davis has been blogging for the Planetary Society, all kinds of space topics, since 2011. But now he is a full-time member of the staff, and his first assignment, and it's a big one, is to be our embedded journalist in the LightSail project. Please welcome
Yes.
Jason Davis. Right up here. No, you're okay. All right, Jason, I know what embedded journalist means in Afghanistan. What does it mean in terms of LightSail?
Well, it means kind of the same thing in the sense that I'll be working closely with the LightSail team and kind of being an honorary team member, I suppose, and getting a lot of access that I normally wouldn't get if I wasn't right there with them. Some of the things I've been doing is listening in on conference calls, being a part of their email distribution list so I can see all of the back and forth chatter about anything that has come up during testing, and being able to read through loads of documentation, which ultimately gives me a very unfiltered look at what's going on behind the scenes. And then
you don't have to sound so nervous about it. It's been really good, right?
It has been.
Unfiltered behind the scenes, really
Well, I've
good.
only been on the project for, a month. So from what I've seen, it's been very good. And the team has been very welcoming of me. They haven't kicked me out as a nosy reporter yet, so that's good.
I envy your position. What can we expect to see at planetary.org and elsewhere?
So we'll be doing a lot of deep dives on some of the technical background on some of the topics that we've covered already are the cameras, the boom deployment tests that they've been doing, and there's a full day in the life test that's coming up that I'm going to be covering as well. And then we're going to be launching a full microsite that's specifically dedicated to LightSail. And we hope to have that in the next month or two. That's going to be kind of in the style of these new websites where it's a fully immersive experience with lots of animations and graphics. And
It's the little spacecraft that could, right?
That's right.
And I know you're going to be
you can
shooting
follow.
video because we just bought you a nice camera.
You bought me a very nice camera, and I appreciate that. And we will put it to good use.
And all of this is beginning to appear right now?
Yes. Yeah. Right now, the placeholder for the microsite is just through our projects webpage on the website, where you can see all the other Planetary Society's projects. But LightSail is right there, nestled at the top, and in there is everything that I've written, as well as you can go back and read the archives, clear back through Cosmos One as well at this point.
Well, that is a very quick appearance, but much, much more to come from your work as the embedded journalist and about LightSail. I need to say goodbye to all four of you so we can go on to the last segment of the show. So if you would, please help me thank Barbara Plant, Bill Nye, Doug Stetson, and Jason Davis.
Thank you all. Now,
Thank you, guys. You guys can exit, and I'm going to call up Bruce Betts, and we need his stuff. Do you have your things that we're going to throw out there? Grab that seat right next to me. Can somebody bring up those prizes that we're going to throw out to the audience here when we get to the trivia contest? Welcome.
Sorry, I was detumbling. Okay, I'm good now.
Nice shirt.
Hey, thanks. It says LightSail.
All right, so this is What's Up, and every week for the last 11 and a half years, you and I have finished the radio show together, and we tell people, or you tell people, what's up in the night sky.
I do indeed.
Tell us.
All right. Well, we've got some lovely planets in the evening sky. We got reddish Mars, yellowish Saturn over in the south in the early evening. And then in the pre-dawn, if you're up at such times, you can check out bright Venus, although it's getting quite low, and even lower than that for the next week or so. You can check out Mercury below it. On the 24th, we've got the moon hanging out with Venus, looking quite lovely. And that's what to look for in the night sky. We'll move on to This Week in Space History. Big week. That whole pesky 45 years ago, first humans on the moon thing happened. And then 20 years ago, was hard to believe it's been so long, the first fragment of comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 slammed into Jupiter.
Wow, 20 years ago?
20 years ago, 1994.
Too bad there wasn't a solar sail right out there to watch that.
No, there was a spacecraft. It
There was
called
a
Galileo.
spacecraft, that's right, yeah. Well, I think it was on the wrong side at that moment, right?
No, we were on the wrong side. Anyway.
All right, anyway. All right, we're going to do this thing where we need to get the audience's help, right?
Yes, indeed. So I'm going to count to 3, and on the count of 3, you're all going to yell out, "Random Space Fact!" So let's try it first. 1, 2, 3. Random Space Fact!
Excellent. God,
Wow.
that was great.
Stunning.
I was impressed.
Yeah, LightSail crowds, they know what they're doing. All right, let's do it. Well, that was almost official. Let's do it one more time officially. 1, 2, 3.
I didn't think they could top the first one, but they did.
That was brilliant. So, little LightSail random space fact for you. Icaros, the Japanese spacecraft, first controlled solar sail spacecraft, much, much, much larger, about still a small spacecraft, but 315 kilograms instead of 5 kilograms. Bigger sail, though, much bigger sail. But it turns out, in terms of acceleration, LightSail is about 10 times higher acceleration than Icaros. You've been watching too much World Cup.
I think Icaros is terrific. I don't want to be that.
No, it was a very impressive mission. There you go. So let's move on to the trivia contest, shall we? And
we'll do it for the
asked-
folks at home first.
Oh, well, let's review last
Please.
question. Last time I asked you, how many moons has the Cassini spacecraft discovered at Saturn? How'd we do, Matt?
Very good response for this. It seemed to pick up again. I think we lost some people for the 4th of July weekend there, but
I
we're
think you
back.
shamed people. You shamed people into
I must have. That or they just want that Planetary Radio T-shirt,
Well, who
which is the prize. We got this one. This is not the winner, but this came from Jason Backham in Apex, North Carolina. You didn't specify which Cassini. He said, in addition to Cassini-Huygens, Giovanni Cassini discovered 4 moons.
That is a fascinating fact, but I beg to differ. I was specific and said Cassini spacecraft.
I think you actually did, and that's how we put it on the website.
Because I knew the man, the myth, the legend, Giovanni, also a moon discoverer.
But Jason deserved honorable mention for that.
definitely.
But here's who random.org actually picked for us as the winner this week. It's Ronald Kaltenbaugh. I think he's a past winner from Jefferson, Maryland. He said that as far as he could tell, 7 moons have been discovered by the Cassini spacecraft, but it may be 8 if you count the possible new moon that appears to be forming in the A-ring, which Cassini discovered just this past April. Is he correct?
Yes, Cassini mission defines it at 7, but yeah, we got that vagueness. So yes, he wins.
Ronald, we're going to send a Planetary Radio T-shirt your way. You know what? Let's now go to the folks here, and then we'll do the one for the folks at home where they will have a week to get it in.
All right. So I will throw out questions. You will raise your hand. Do we have a microphone out there? Yes, excellent.
We're all set.
Wait till the microphone gets to you, and you can propose your answer. And Matt, what are they winning in the audience?
A choice. You can either have a beautiful LightSail fleece vest. Really, I think, shouldn't we see Bruce model one of these? Yeah, here you go. Put that on, please. Okay. Or you may have the polo shirt that he's already wearing. Well, not that shirt, because you don't want him to take that off on stage. But yeah, that's perfect. I love it. Thank you. Actually, it might be better that way.
You really don't like these, do you?
Yeah, they're okay, you know.
Bill Nye loves
I'm sorry,
his.
I've insulted Bill's vests. I'm really sorry. Please, let's get the first one out to folks here.
Probably don't want the one on my head.
You can
All
keep
right.
that one.
So the first question, start easy, hopefully, since oh, that's too easy. It's actually on the screen. All right. Not a question. I was going to ask how many blades does the LightSail spacecraft have? 4, obviously, since you can see the screen.
You get to keep the vest. You got it right.
Yay! I will wear it with pride. All right. Though it had no sails per se, and this was mentioned earlier, so if you're listening, what recent spacecraft used light pressure on its solar panels to make small adjustments to its trajectory on its way to Mercury?
We go to the audience here at the Crawford Family Forum. We got somebody right over here on this side. What's your name, sir?
Ian Jimenez.
And what spacecraft used sunlight?
Messenger.
That is correct, Messenger.
Okay. Big question of the night, vest or polo shirt? Polo shirt. Dig down in here and grab one of those. Now, if this isn't your size, don't worry. We will exchange it right after. We're going to test Bruce's arm here.
Now, you always mock my throwing. Maybe you should.
Oh, hell no. It wouldn't even be funny.
All right, here we go.
Oh, very nice. Well done.
Sorry, didn't.
I think the pressure of the lights here in the forum caught it and it hooked a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't plan for the attitude control properly.
Okay.
All right. Going more scientifically technical. In these Star Wars movies, which character used what was supposed to be at least a partially solar sail-powered spacecraft?
Tough one. Okay, on the other side here, right there, sir, what's your name?
My name's Peter.
Okay, you Star Wars fanatic, you.
That would be Count Dooku, a.k.a. Darth Tyrannus.
Bonus points.
Wow.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Vest or polo shirt? Vest. He's going for a vest. Toss
Going
that
for the
out there,
vest.
big
All
man.
right. Stay. Where'd he go?
Stand up, stand up. Oh. They don't fly very well.
Wow.
Okay. Let's do one more for the audience here.
All right. One more for the audience.
By the way, anybody know Jim Cameron's spaceship in Avatar? That was a solar sail spacecraft. It's all in the background metadata that did. Never mind. Go ahead.
In Avatar, well, no. Okay, those things that are hitting the sail. What is a quantum packet of light called? A light particle. Oh my gosh!
Oh God! Everybody's in on this one. Where are we going here? Right over there. Stand up, please. Can't see you. Stand up. Stand up. What's your name?
My name's Paula.
And what are those things?
It's a photon.
Well, a whole bunch of them.
Yes.
Indeed, photon. Excellent. Vest or polo shirt?
Vest or polo? Polo. Polo.
All right, all right. Polos fly better.
There you
I
go.
love that.
Yeah, there you go. Last throw of the evening.
All right.
The warm-up and the pitch. Not bad.
Oh,
not bad
thank you.
at all.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent catch.
We're going to wrap it up. What
All
do you
right,
got for folks at home?
All right, for the folks at home, so you can compete in this, but you have to go home and submit your answer. And if you're listening tonight, you should have the answer. Don't yell it out. Approximately how much total area do the LightSail sails have? What is the area of the LightSail sails? Go to planetary.org/radio contest to get your entry in. And what are they trying to win, Matt?
We're going to send them both a beautiful, a lovely, form-fitting LightSail vest and a LightSail polo shirt. They need to get us that answer by Tuesday, July 22nd at 8 a.m. Pacific time. I think we're done.
All right, everybody, go out there, look up the night sky, and think about attitude control in your life. Thank you, and good night.
Dr. Bruce Betts, the Director of Science and Technology for the Planetary Society. We are out of time for this great evening. Please help me thank all of our wonderful guests one more time. And there's more to come. Bill Nye, Jim Bell, Doug Stetson, Barbara Plant, David Brin, Jason Davis, and Bruce Betts. We are also grateful to our hosts here in KPCC's Crawford Family Forum, where we've been ably assisted by Janice Wachi-Hurst, David McKeever, Haley Waters, Jeanette. I didn't put your last name in, Jeanette, and I've forgotten it, but she's doing their social media. And Jason Georges, who's been switching the cameras. Social media for the Planetary Society was managed by our brand new digital marketing manager, Karen Hames. Allow me to close this celebration with one small section of a nearly epic poem. Ray Bradbury and Jonathan V. Post contributed it to Project Solar Sail. That's the book that we talked about earlier that David Brin and Arthur C. Clarke put together, compiled in 1990. The title of this, and it's just a fragment from it, is To Sail Beyond the Sun, a Luminous Collage. Why do we, the solar sails fragile as a feather's frond, silently seek to sail so far? We walk the air from here to planet. We walk the air from here to planet out beyond because we're more than fond of life and what we are. We are the energy of Shakespeare's verse, We are what mathematics wants to be, the life force in the universe that longs to see, that would become and give a voice to matter that was dumb. We are, to the gates of gravity, the keys. We are the abyss light that comes from Pleiades. We are the melody of futures flying soon, and what the song, the tune, to fashion fires and thus outrace the moon. West is west, and east is west, and east is east. But we sail on perpendiculars to grow man 10 ways too tall to feast on universe and stars. Thank you for joining us this evening, everyone. Good night and smooth sailing.